Hi everyone, it's Lisa from My Dreaming Soap. Welcome to my channel and thanks for dropping by. Now today's soap is my entry for the October 2020 Soap Challenge hosted by Amy Warden. Now for this month's challenge we're looking at Ghost Swirls. Now the Ghost Swirl was a technique created by Aunty Clara. And I'm going to leave a link to Aunty Clara's blog in the description below. It is really worth a visit to her blog. She has so many fascinating articles that deal with the way that soap works and all sorts of things like glycerin rivers and investigating all those sort of kind of weird phenomena that we see in soap. So definitely worth a visit. Now I have done a Ghost Swirl video before on my channel, and in that video I went into detail all about how a Ghost Swirl works and why it works and how you create one. So I'm not going to go through that amount of detail in this video, but I will obviously link that first video in the description below if you want to go back and look at that detail. Now for the advanced category, we were not allowed to use any colourants in our soap at all, and everything that we put into our oils all had to be master batched. So the only way that you were going to get a variation in your colours as such and create a pattern or a design in your soap was by manipulating the concentration of your lye solution, so you end up with some darker and some lighter parts of your soap. So come on, let's go make some soap.
Now I did actually make two soaps for this month's challenge, and that wasn't my original plan. The first soap that I made, I did like it, but it wasn't one of those soaps that got me really excited, so I thought I'd try something different. Now in this soap, this is the one that I actually entered, I decided that I wanted to use the effect of a ghost swirl to make the sort of ripple effects that you get on a pond. And then I'm going to make the back end of a duck and some little duck feet so it looks like it's diving down into the pond and creating those ghost swirl ripples. So to make my main bars of soap, I'm going to do a column pour, and hopefully that will create the ripples that I want in my soap. Now these tubes do look like they're hollow, but I have taped over the top. I just use them for making embeds and various other things as well. And I've just secured them to the bottom of the mould with some melted soy wax. Now all of the oils I used for this soap were all melted down together so that in all the various elements I use exactly the same ratios of all of these oils. So here are the elements that I've got for my main pour. I'm going to use a stronger lye solution, that's the side that I've got marked with 45. Now with a strong lye solution, this is 45% of my lye solution is actually lye, you might find that you get some sort of little floaty bits. Now this is very soft bits of sort of lye lint, so they're going to be perfectly fine, they're not hard crystals of lye. The other side is my high water, so my low strength lye, and that's the 30%. Now if you're unsure about why we're using different lye solutions and the effect of them, then do make sure you check out my other video that I've linked in the description, and that explains the theory behind these strengths of lye solution and the effect that it has on your soap and how it creates the ghost swirl. Now I'm going to blend both of these soaps and bring them both just to an emulsion. Now it is quite likely that you might have one lye strength setting up quicker than the other, so you just need to be careful and keep an eye on what's going on. And so for my pour, I'm just going to do an individual column pour in each of the bars of soap. So I'm doing this rather than one big column in the middle, because I want a ripple effect going out from the centre of each of these bars of soap. So I'm just going to take each of the soaps and alternate the pour until I've used all of my batter up. Now I did find that my columns weren't really helping me out here. I think because I'd sort of just covered the top in some sticky tape, they were all a bit sort of rough and uneven, so I didn't get that lovely even flow down the side of each of the columns. So certainly if I did this again, I would just make sure they were really nice and smooth. And then as I got towards the end of the pour, my batter was thickening up a little bit more than I'd liked, so hence the double pour technique, just trying to get it poured as quickly as possible. I wasn't too worried because I'd planned to make this soap a little bit thicker than I actually needed, because I knew I wanted to plane the top surface off anyway. Once I've finished with my pour, I am still going to pop my soap, but I'm going to have my oven temperature set very low, so only about 60 degrees C, whereas normally I would pop at about 75 degrees C. The reason for the extra low temperature is I only want the high water parts of my soap to gel, and I don't want the low water parts to gel, so keeping that temperature lower should ensure that that happens. And as I finish my pour, I'm just going to twist and remove those little columns and then just tidy up the top and pop it into the oven to pop. So the next day I unmoulded my soap and cut it into bars, and now I'm just planing that top surface down so that it's nice and smooth. And I'm hoping to reveal those ghost swirls so I've got that sort of circular ripple in the centre of my soap. Now I'm just mixing up a very small amount of batter, and again this is some of the saved master batch oils that I've been using throughout the soap. You're not actually going to see this little bit of soap. I'm just going to use it to make sure I can stick my little duck embed onto the soap, because I'm putting it onto the soap after they've been through saponification rather than when the soap was wet. I do want my little duck embed to be nice and secure, and also just to make sure it's clear that the duck is sort of diving into the water rather than just sitting on the surface. So I'm just going to scrape out a small amount of soap from the middle of the bars, and that will give me somewhere that I can sit my duck in. So to finish off, I've then just filled those holes that I've made with that fresh soap, and I'm just going to add in the ducks, the little duck feet, and some lily pads. Now I didn't film the making of these little embeds just because I did them at a really early time in the morning and the lighting was really bad. Now the ducks and all the embeds were made from some soap dough, and I wanted this soap dough to be as light as possible so it really showed up against the base soap. So therefore I did a really low lye concentration. I did just 23% in my lye solution, and what that did was it gave us a lot of water in that soap and therefore made the batter really quite light. The downside of that is that it made really quite a soft, sticky soap dough. So therefore I had to wait 2 weeks before I could use it. I left it unwrapped, and then several times a day I sort of squished it all up and manipulated it, and gradually over those 2 weeks it sort of lost some of that water and turned into a pliable soap dough. So let's now move on to my second soap. So exactly the same principle, using master batched oils and just splitting them between the two parts. And then again, our two different lye solutions. This time I'm going to be doing an ultra thin lines swirl. So therefore I'm going to have most of my batter at one rate and then just a small amount at the other rate. Now, as we've already talked our way through one of the soaps, I'm just going to set this second one to music with a few little notes on the screen so you can see how I did it. And then we'll come back and look at some finished pictures of both of the soaps.
There's some stains on your photo.
And here's a final picture of the butterfly soap. Now it's quite difficult with the Ghost Swirl to get a photo where you can really see all the various different colours in it. So therefore you can see normally quite a darker picture, you know, not such bright lighting does seem to help. And then finally a picture of my little diving duck soaps. They do make me laugh, I think they're quite cute, so I hope you like them too. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like the soap. If you have, it would be great if you left me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see what I'm doing in the future, why not subscribe to my channel? If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. Thanks for watching everyone. Happy soaping!